Citizenship, or the status of being a citizen of a particular country, has been a hot topic of political discourse for many generations. I've decided to take a look at what Lin-Manuel Miranda has called a musical counterweight to the xenophobia of immigrants in this country. I will be taking a look at a mixtape lineup that consists of Kanan, Snow That Product, Riz MC, and Rizadante, who culturally represent a variety of places on the map. The name of the mixtape, Immigrants We Get the Job Done, is taken from Lin-Manuel Miranda's Tony Award-winning Hamilton play. A sample of the play is even included at the beginning of the tape, before any of the artists begin their verses. The song was dropped a few days after the 2016 presidential election results and speaks to the amount of diversity that makes up America. The theme of the song is seen through the lens of each artist and provides a holistic perspective on citizenship and immigration in the U.S. But before I dive into the specifics of the mixtape, I want to talk about Monica Munoz Martinez's book, The Injustice Never Leaves You. A section that I found most interesting was about the opening of the Life and Death on the Border 1910 to 1920 exhibit that was unveiled at the Bob Bullock Texas State History Museum in 2016. Munoz Martinez mentioned that people lined up at the Bullock because they had waited for over a century for the cultural institutions of Texas to officially recognize the role of state police and politicians in enacting a reign of terror so devastating that the effects would reverberate for generations. They came to bear witness to the first public reckoning. This was a very powerful statement that ties in well with the musical production I am focusing on in this presentation. She ends the book with a personal anecdote that says, "Learning from crimes of the past will help inform current debate about immigration, policing, and national belonging. The lessons of the past, when forgotten, have devastating consequences." This left me with a lot to process, and I had a lot more questions about the topic of citizenship now than I had before I started reading this book. But this quote is a great segue into the music video. The opening scene of the music video portrays a group of people gathering around one individual who's holding a radio. The radio is talking about immigration and the political debate that's raging on right now in the House and the Senate. And the reporter says that it is really astonishing that a country founded by immigrant has somehow become a bad word. Now, the camera pans around and focuses on all the faces of the group of people that are in this train. And you can see that they're very sad and scared of what was going to happen next. This is when the first MC comes on, and his name is Kanan. Kanan is a Somalian refugee that came to America with his brother and his mother when they were sacrificing a lot back in his home country. And he goes on, and he's the opening act of the mixtape. He's the one that brought everything together. He has been very outspoken with his citizenship and with the immigration policies that are in place with America right now. And this was a big counterweight, as Lin-Manuel Miranda has mentioned before, to the presidential election of 2016. Following Kanan's verse, the music video pans to another portion of the train where a group of people are sewing American flags. This obviously has a bunch of symbolism with the sewing of the American flag, as in like building and creating the country. They're the backbone, and they're the ones that are supporting the financial increases of the country and how wealthy America has become because the work of immigrants and what they have provided for America as a whole. The music video portrays people walking to and from with a bunch of American flags folded up, carrying and passing them along. So they're the ones building and starting America and creating it what the country is today. And it's very inspiring. It's very passionate about their work, and you can tell that they have been working hard to build America and what it is today. Following the symbolic sewing of American flags in one railway cart, pans to another one with Snow That Product, who is a Mexican rapper who is very passionate about the work that her family has done to set her up for success in the music industry. She first is portrayed just alone with the American flag in the background, with her talking about jobs and what America has done for her and her family. Then a few scenes cut here and there, and you can see more and more people filling into the cart and they are all workers who have woken up in the middle of the night, and you can tell that they're all disheveled and they are very tired. And since Know That Product is from Mexico, Spanish-speaking language, she goes back and forth between English and Spanish rapping and ties it together in a very cohesive manner. And one of the lines that she says is "walk a mile in our shoes." Obviously, this is a very cliche expression, but it is very resounding because she mixed it in with both the English version of the rapping as well as the Spanish version. She's also the one that comes up with the line, "America's Ghostwriters, the credits only borrowed." That becomes a bridge later into the music video and is a very powerful statement, and that is why I even titled my presentation America's Ghostwriters. Following Know That Product's railway cart scene is Riz MC, and Riz is a Pakistani who lives in New York City. He is first portrayed with the bridge that goes, "America's Ghostwriters, the credits only borrowed." As I mentioned before, this was Know That Product's original line, who was transformed into a segue into Riz MC's verse. You can see that he's in a subway cart, a New York City subway cart, and his eyes are redacted out, meaning that he's like forgotten, or he is oblivious, or he has become oblivious to everyone else, the mainstream of New York. And in one of his verses, he goes, "Buckingham Palace or Capitol Hill, the blood of my ancestors had that all built." Now he's saying that the work of his ancestors has built America, which goes back even further to the sewing of the American flag and distributing it from the entire scene. So this entire shoot, this entire mixtape is just talking about the impact that immigrants had on America today and shaping it for what it is and what it will become later on. In the middle of Riz MC's verse, the music video pans to a father and a son who are going through what it seems to be a war zone. It originally plays with gunfire and explosions while the father is carrying his son through barbed wire fences and finally leads to this refugee camp and looks to be Pakistan because this is Riz MC's verse and he's the one speaking, he is from Pakistan. So that could be inferred and implied that this is where they are. And it's very powerful because there's no music or there's no any of the people that are in this shot are not any musicians. They are actors who are portraying a very dangerous and perilous scene of people migrating out of a war zone into a safe place. Now, Riz MC is in the background speaking and rapping about the experiences that he has felt while in Pakistan and now back in the States. But it's a very powerful message because you can compare the two and see how real and how accurate his descriptions and lyrics are with the portrayal of the refugee camp. Now he talks about, like I said, the migrations between the war zone into the States, and is very symbolic with, you can tell everyone is just so passionate about making sure that the son was all right and the father will get to safety and hopefully with cleaner clothes and food and water. But it is very descriptive about how in the middle of this verse, in the middle of this mixtape, that there can be a powerful statement that doesn't have to be any words involved. And the final artist that is on this mixtape is Residente. And Residente is from Puerto Rico, and he is very, very famous within the Latin American culture. Anyone and everyone who loves and cherishes rap music in Latin America knows who Residente is. And Residente is actually a third cousin of Lin-Manuel Miranda. And when Lin-Manuel was trying to figure out how he wanted to have this musical counterweight to the election and what was going on at the time with immigration, he wanted to have Residente in a music video and in a mixtape. And so he was the one that kind of got based around. He was the sole focus, and he was like, how are we going to get this done? And so he is the final act, pretty much, of the video, and he is portrayed on top of the train while everyone else was inside the train. Like I said, he's from Puerto Rico, and he is only Spanish-speaking rapper. And one of the translations that I found the most impactful was one line that he said, "We plant the tree and they reap the fruit." Now he means we as the hard laborers of the immigrants that come from all over the globe, and they as the white America who reap the fruit. So they're the ones benefiting from all the blood, sweat, and tears of the immigrants, and the people who are already in America, who already have their living, as in the white America, are reaping the fruit of the plant that the immigrants are sowing. But now he talks a lot about the bring up and what is happening in Latin America, and specifically like ICE, like the Immigration Control Agency, and how they've been doing raids and disrupting families and whatnot. And it's a powerful statement. And he is, after I've never heard of him before watching this music video, and is very inspiring and very captivating. And I did more research, and most of his songs are just talking about his life in Puerto Rico and the poverty and the upbringing that he's had, and it's inspiring to see what he is doing for the community as a whole. Now, after Residente's portion on top of the train, it pans to the overarching train that they were all on and they were all in. And then it goes further out, and you can see it was like a network of trains going all across the globe and presumably Earth, meaning that everyone is traveling all over the world, and it's an interconnected global phenomenon of immigration. And I thought this was a great way to end the music video, and specifically tying in Lin-Manuel's Hamilton, Immigrants We Get the Job Done, is a perfect segue into the musical counterweight that I keep referring to. And when Snow That Product first said the words of America's Ghostwriters, the credits only borrowed, was a very impactful statement that stuck to me. And thinking that they're the ones that have been writing all these stories that we've been reading in this class, specifically about Monica Munoz Martinez, and no one has heard about those oral histories until recently, when they've been putting into the Texas State History Museum, talking about like the indigenous peoples and what their history of America was compared to what Christopher Columbus and what we as students have been told through textbooks. And it's just, I mean, the ghostwriting of immigrants has been very prevalent in what is shaping America. And I think that this entire music video is very, very impactful. And I didn't know specifically what I wanted to do for this final project. And I am a big fan of music, and so I looked up immigrant-inspired music videos and songs and albums that were speaking to the hardships that they face. And this was the top hit, and Kanan has done a fabulous job getting all these artists and all these rappers into this one mixtape for the sole purpose of just informing and talking about and taken away from the bad connotations that immigrants have. And they're just coming over and having a good sense of American pride with the symbolic sewing of the American flag, and trying to build themselves a better life than they were coming from. So the next slide is going to be the actual video, the music video, all the way through. So because I just showed you little snippets of specific scenes, but I will play the entire about 6.5, 7-minute music video that portrays everything that happens. So thank you for your time, and thank you for your great class.